Hey, welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. Very happy to have you here this evening with me. And yes, it is 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And here I am with another Monday Ask Me Anything. Yes, I am here yet again. And as usual, you find me trying to kind of stir the pot a little bit to get people thinking about what we could be talking about. And the thing that came to me, and often, if you watch these, it's very often a weekend show. Usually either it's Michael Smerconish or Fareed Zakaria or someone like that. Maybe sometimes it's even something that, say, Bill Maher said or John Oliver said. But in this case, it's Smerconish again. Smerconish has been on the money these last couple of weeks, really talking about some of the most balanced questions and reporting, clearly on CNN. I mean, the most balanced on CNN, and maybe even the most balanced that I've seen on mainstream news. He's been really on the ball these last couple of weeks. And he brings up the idea and the concept and the worry about police reform while we're having a crime wave. In fact, not just a crime wave, but literally a murder wave, right? Massive problems, and we're trying to reform police. And there's got to be issues here that people are concerned about. So I want to cover what he talked about, and you'll see what I mean. He brings up some valid points, and that I think most people should at a minimum be thinking about.
Temperatures are rising, and so is the crime. I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. We haven't even yet reached the traditional summer spike in crime, and yet last night alone, 13 were injured in a shooting in downtown Austin. In Savannah, Georgia, one person was killed. At least 8 others were wounded in another.
Now, this, by the way, was Saturday. So this happened on Saturday. He's talking about Friday and before, and it just got worse. It's just getting worse.
Shooting. Major U.S. cities already experiencing historic murder rates after 2020 saw a 33% increase in homicides. In the first 3 months of this year, the homicide rate in more than 30 U.S. cities increased by 24%.
Gun assaults by 22%. Right? Now, they always have to put the gun assault in. So I want to ask you an important question. What if you didn't put the gun assault stat there? What if you just put the 24% homicide rate? It's important, right? It's important. What if you didn't put the gun assault rate? You only put the homicide rate. Would you go, oh, it's 24% homicide rate? Oh, well, that's fine. Okay, I'm okay with that. What? A 22% in gun assaults? Change everything. No, that wasn't gun deaths. That was gun assaults. So when it comes to homicide rates, it's 24%. Gun assaults, oh, that's separate. What does that mean? That means people are killing people, not only by guns. So if you get rid of the guns, you still have a very high homicide rate. That isn't the thing, but that's put in here as always. Gun assaults always. Is there a knife assault race here right here? Homicide rate, gun assaults. Where's the knife assault? Where's the baseball bat assault rate? Where's that? I don't know where that one is. Where's the my fist assault? Where's that rate? I don't know where that rate is. Right? Where's the broken glass assault rate? They don't have that. They only have the gun assault rate. Which, of course, why? Because the answer always has to be, oh, something's wrong? Take people's guns. Someone be clear. They're trying to reform police, right? That's the goal. We're going to reform policing. All right, I got you. And the homicide and crime rate's up. Okay. So it should be part of that. Taking away people's ability to defend themselves. That makes total sense, doesn't it? That's where we are right now.
And gun assaults increased by 22% compared to the same time period in 2020. Just look at Atlanta, where homicides are up nearly 60% in 2020.
I would ask you again, if I showed you these stats of homicide rate increasing, do I have to put the gun assault rate to make you be afraid or concerned or worried? I'm assuming if you live in Atlanta, Los Angeles, or Philadelphia, if you saw any of these rates, you'd be like, we should do something. But wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't. What's the gun assault rate? I want to know that first. I mean, 50% increase in homicides, whatevs. What's the gun assault rate? Because then we'll do something.
21. Los Angeles, homicides increased nearly 27% since 2020. Here in Philadelphia, as of May 21, homicides year to date are up 38%.
That's a lot.
This unprecedented increase in violence coincides with a push for police accountability in the wake of George Floyd's murder. And one example of a policing policy overhaul.
And here he's going to now talk about an actual policy. I know. Logic Rex goes, CNN? Question mark? I know. That's why I'm showing this to you. And I actually brought this up. If you remember this, I brought this up after the election last year, around December-ish. I had actually saw, I think it was Jake Tapper, if I'm not mistaken. Jake Tapper actually did a decent piece of commentary. It was one weekend. And I was so surprised. I actually showed it. I was like, look, this is CNN. This was like, they asked both sides. Look at that. Crazy. And I was hoping for a whole lot more. Yeah, I didn't get a whole lot more of it. But I'm going to try to do what I always do. Give people, credit where credit is due. And when it comes to CNN, Smirkanish is a gem when it comes to CNN. So if any of you are going to watch CNN, or if any of you want to, Smirkanish is the guy to watch if you're going to watch him. That's all I'm saying. So yes, I know you're shocked, but yes.
Can be found right here in Philadelphia in a 3-month pilot program aimed at overcoming racial bias. Police officers in Northwest Philadelphia will no longer be allowed to stop or detain people for certain quality of life violations, which...
Now, the issue that they bring up here, I'm torn on this, and listen, here's my reason why I'm torn. I think this is going to be a bad policy. I think this is not going to work. What you're hearing here is they're telling you that you don't make stops. You know what? I'm yapping. Finish this up, then I'll explain.
Quality of life violations, which account for about 40% of all stops, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer. The violations included in this pilot program are still being finalized, but they may include panhandling, smoking marijuana, urinating in public, boom cars, or holding open liquor containers.
Yes.
As part of the new protocol that begins on August 1st, police must first tell the offender to quit the behavior or move along, and police can only conduct a stop if the person doesn't comply. The program is part of other measures that were ordered by a federal judge who's overseeing decade-old civil rights litigation regarding the city's stop and frisk practices.
Now, I'm torn on this for several reasons, right? Several reasons. One, lots of people that right away. Broken window policing was one reason when New York City was cleaned up. And I agree with that. I actually used to work for Bill Bratton, who actually began that policy. Bill Bratton, he spent a short time in the private sector, and I worked for him when he was in the private sector for a short time. We were not selling background investigations. So yes, that's a valid point, right? I don't think this is going to work. I think it's a bad idea. But let me walk down a couple of roads on where my head is here. I do like the idea that only one city does it, right? It's not a federal or national plan. So when it comes to plans, I'm glad it's one city. Because you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the thing. I don't think so at all. I think New York City has proven us already, to Logic's point, that this, I don't think it's going to work at all. However, if you're going to do it in one city. If Philadelphia shows us that we're magically wrong, awesome, we can all copy. But I got a feeling it's going to be a disaster. And hopefully other cities go, oh, yeah, don't do that. So that part of it, I like. The part that I don't like is two things. When you start dealing with quality of life issues, which I get, you don't want stop and frisk. And the problem is, how do you deal with stop and frisk versus not stop and frisk? My answer is just don't stop and frisk. That's it. Just don't stop and frisk. But if someone's doing something wrong, which is these quality of life issues, why wouldn't you have an actual stop? Now, you might say, well, Larry, do you really want to stop somebody in this area? I get your concern. You could be saying, Larry, if we're stopping them for public urination, or we're stopping them for, having a car blasting music, there's a better chance someone gets shot, someone's killed, blah, blah. Accurate. That's true. But what about the opposite side? In what neighborhoods do you usually have these issues? Public urination. What was something he mentioned? The boom cars, dice games. What do you have those? Poor neighborhoods. So you're allowing the poor neighborhoods to stay poor, because who's going to buy a house or an apartment building for any amount of money if they know that people are smoking weed and out in public and peeing out in public and doing all the things that people don't like in their quality of life out in public? And then why would the cops even bother then? Cops are going to walk by, see people doing best, they're going to walk away. Because the second he says something, they're going to go, you can't stop me. All of a sudden now, it goes away. This is going to hurt. I mean, unless I'm completely off here, this is not only not going to work, it's going to hurt poorer people. Wealthy people don't have this problem. They have private security. They have gated communities. The cops always hang around them because they give money to the mayoral candidates, right? So the cops always hang around their neighborhoods. So yeah, that is an issue, right? So I'm torn on how cops are going to enforce this also. So this to me it sounds like a bad idea, but I could be wrong. I'm glad it's one city, but my gut says this is in place because it doesn't affect wealthy communities. They're not going to deal with this. They're not at all. They're going to find some other answer. They're not going to put up with that in their communities. They just won't. The wealthy don't put up with this stuff.
A lawyer for the plaintiffs told the Inquirer that they'll ask the court to expand the pilot program citywide unless the city shows major problems.
Note, citywide. Yeah, right now, just in bad neighborhoods.
In a statement to CNN, the city of Philadelphia said, we look forward to working further with plaintiffs' counsel to implement, but more importantly, analyze the results of the program. We certainly hope that the pilot leads to better outcomes for the community, and if not, we are committed to talking through changes to the program or other options.
Not a bad idea, but
However,
my worry is that doesn't work.
In an April court filing, the city has stated that barring these stops would, quote, deprive PPD of a valuable crime-fighting tool at a time when Philadelphia's homicide rate have never been higher.
There's the other issue. Now, you have a massive homicide rate. And for those who may not be aware of this, most homicides go unsolved, right? The odds of you killing somebody one time and getting away with it are actually in your favor. I probably should have told you that, but that's actually true. The odds are in your favor. Most of first-time homicides don't get solved. So the odds are in your favor. Please don't kill anybody. But I'm just saying, that's actually true. It is a serious issue. So how are the cops supposed to start catching the killers? And, I wouldn't have said that a couple years ago because relatively the killers weren't as aggressive. Now they're a whole lot more aggressive. How are they going to do that? Well, I get it. So that is a valid issue. But there's another issue here. And that issue is the assumption is the way to stop people being killed is more police presence. That in itself isn't always the answer. Why in the world would there be so many people, so much murder, so much crime now? Random? Just it's summer? No. You have more crime when you have more things that are illegal. You have more street violence when you require more street justice. When does that happen? When there's a black market. Always when there's a black market. There's a whole lot of black market underground activity going on because we were locked down for so long. And when you're locked down, you can't legally do stuff. So you did it illegally. People didn't stop doing stuff. They just did it illegally. So now what was legal is now illegal. And when it's illegal, what happens? Black market. I can't use cops. I can't use courts. What do I have? Thugs and street justice. That's all I have. That's how I enforce my contracts. That's how I enforce my intellectual property. I'm not joking. That's how I enforce it, right? Someone's trying to be me on the street. I can't call a cop. I can't sue them. I shoot them. That's what happens, right? You didn't do your contract. You agreed to do so and so. You didn't do it. Can't take you to court. I guess I have to break your legs, right? Or I got to shoot you. So yeah, there's an underlying issue that this doesn't cover. I'm not saying this is the right answer, but I am torn by this, right? It does make me think. I feel like they didn't really think about an answer. They just said, we've got to do something. So I know, pull the cops off. Is that really the answer right now? I'm not saying we need more cops. I'm not saying we need more aggressive. I already gave you my answer. I gave you my answer last year, right? Literally around this time, I gave my answer a year ago in how to change police reform. It was the FAQS plan, FAQS plan. Shift that, this all goes away. You don't have to worry about it. My plan was a good plan. No one cares about my plan now. No one cares about my plan. They care about this one. Let me grab a couple of comments. You guys are commenting. Oh my God, my 2 cents wrote like 7 pages. I will try to get a little bit out of this if I can. You guys can read it. She put a bunch of it on YouTube. If you want to head up to the Sharpe YouTube page, it's on here. The police union has New York City by the bells. True. NYPD has done too much damage to public trust and won't correct anything. They see nothing wrong with their policies. This is an issue in New York City. And the problem I have, the reason why I like what Philadelphia is doing, meaning that it's a pilot program, is that it's just Philadelphia. New York City policing is very different than upstate New York policing, even Long Island policing. It's very different. And New York City cops have a different relationship with a lot of the poorer communities. That part's true. And many of them don't want to make a change at all. Accurate statement. But you can still reform them within the FAQS, the FAQS program. You can make that shift and make things better. So my 2 cents says 900,000 false arrests and just one lawsuit, $70 million. Is that true? From what? 900,000 false arrests where? I'm not sure where. Is that just New York City? I don't know where that is. Officers can plant drugs on cam and still keep their job. Also true. Officers have done many bad things to their job. Also accurate. You can say anything to them if you don't stop working and call in sick. You can be beaten by police, then threatened with criminal charge of assault of a police officer and resisting arrest. That's happened too. I've seen that too. But that doesn't mean that we should just defund them, though, right? Or are you saying that? Do you think it's just a defund? Dirty cop trick is to get you to take a charge and plead out. That's true. Yes. Even nothing wrong. Convince you you're going to lose and get jail time. You can't go after them if you plead out. That's absolutely true. Yes. That's a common thing. They just get you to plead something and you'll take whatever. And once you're guilty, this is the sad part in our system. Once you are guilty, whether you've pled guilty or you were found guilty in the court, no one believes you. Nobody wants to talk to you. They're like, get your day in court and then appeal. That is a lose-lose situation. And so if a cop can get you to plead to something, whatever you say, they're going to be like, no, you said you did the thing. Well, I was pressured. They don't believe you. You did the thing. And therefore, in the eyes of, sadly, too many Americans, the cop was justified. You did the thing. You said you did it. So whatever the cop did to you is justified. That is, sadly, a very valid point. Most Americans feel that way. And I would argue that's not a police thing. That's a cultural thing. We have to change how we think about that. And sadly, most of us don't. But that is a cultural thing. So, yeah, I hope that was good. You put a bunch of stuff here. Hold on. Let me see if I can go here. In my opinion, the union needs to go because it only cares about the quantity of officers, not the quality. Yes, but I did talk about how we could fix that too with liability insurance, ending qualified immunity. Yes, I covered that piece in my quick program. You are correct, but I had facts and quick. Facts was how we break the police up into 4 different groups, depending upon where you are, depending upon how you want to do it. And quick is the things we do, ending qualified immunity, having them have liability insurance, taking cannabis off Schedule 1, and ending civil asset forfeiture. Do those 4 things. This isn't necessary. The things that they're talking about in Philadelphia are not necessary. You don't have to worry about these things. If you end qualified immunity, have them pay for their own liability insurance, and then let the union be a broker of that insurance, in which case they would care about quality because the insurance company is going to raise rates if they have bad cops. That would incentivize the unions to care about quality, and the cops care about quality, right? Because they'd have bad cops, be paying too much, premiums go up. So yeah, that would incentivize that. And taking cannabis off Schedule 1. No need to stop anybody for cannabis anymore. That's a good deal. Love that. And then end civil asset forfeiture. It means it gives the cops no incentive to grab stuff, to take cars, take, stuff, to take jewelry. No incentive to take it. They would only stop them if there was a reason to stop them. That's the issue. So that would be my piece. There we go. And then she said, yep, there we go. Thank you, my 2 cents. Officers need their own insurance. Get rid of qualified immunity. There we go. Yes, what I just talked about. We're on the same page. I love it. We're on the same page. I love that. Excellent. All right, keep going here. How Hi, everyone. I'm shocked you take on the subject. Everyone avoids it. I don't avoid any subject. Never. I never do that. I don't avoid anything. Logic says gun assaults, nice scary word in there. Yes, they always bring up gun assaults, right? Or gun crime or guns, but nothing else. It's always just gun stuff. Yeah. Dave says, Democrat, if someone is killed with something other than a firearm, it is not a homicide. That's good. How'd you kill him? Knife? Oh, so you didn't kill him? No, I killed him. With what? A knife. Oh, so you didn't kill him? Circular logic. Yes, absolutely. So Tom says the whole show was good. He had a doctor on later to talk about those who have COVID and just predicted as vaccinated. I remember that part, Tom. He did. See, Logic Rex, there's some balance on CNN. He had a conversation with a doctor saying, okay, I don't get it. If you had COVID and you're now immune, aren't you the same as, if not better than someone who's been vaccinated? And the doctor's like, yeah, that's how it works. Yes. So he's like, well, then how can you then not let people into school if they're not vaccinated, but they already had it? How does that work? And he's like, it doesn't make any sense. He was literally going through that. You're right, Tom. Again, better late than never, but hey, he's on board. I love it. Just some actual science, thinking about stuff. Yes, absolutely. Wowza, says the Shamrocker, another Band-Aid policy. Yes, it is exactly that. It's another Band-Aid policy. Yes. Pete says, question for CNN, we still care about kids in cages? Are we done with that now? No, we're done with that. Biden's the president now. Didn't you get the memo, Pete? Kids in cages don't matter anymore. Biden's president. Now they're, what do they call them now? Kids in, I don't know, facilities. Yeah, it changes. I thought you got that memo. I'll resend you the email, Pete. Now we don't care about kids in cages. It's done now, right? And now also we can block people from coming. It's fine now. When Trump did it, it was racist. But Harris went down there. She's brown, not racist. You did get that memo, though. I think you did. You got that one, right? If a brown person is bad at the border, it's fine. It's not racist. If a white person is, that's racist. So but you knew that. I'm sorry. The rest of you guys got the memo, I think, right? Okay, so we're clear. You have to bring this up again. It's fine. Anyway, let me keep going if I can. Dave says that type of quality of life response makes sense. It's what police used to do. Telling people to move along. Will it work is a good question. My worry is, Dave, your point's a valid one, and my 2 cents is the same thing. I like the warning. I do. I think it's a fair thing. The problem is the environment now, right? That's my issue. The policy of saying move along before you harass somebody does make sense. I agree with you. I think my 2 cents correct too. It does make sense. My issue is in our current environment. How are people going to take it? That's my issue. And I'm just thinking about myself as a 17-year-old punk that I was, right? Sometimes still am. But a 17-year-old punk that I was. Would my friends have? What would we have done? Would we have pushed the envelope? Would we not? We go, you can't arrest me. You didn't tell me I got to go yet. Is that what I don't know, right? And I think that's the point. Your point's right. Will it work is a good question. I don't know if it will. Again, I'll go back to, at least it's not a national plan or a statewide plan. In this case, not even a citywide plan. It's a small area. Will it work? Won't it work? My gut says won't work, but look, if you have a better relationship with your police force, and in many areas you do, the problem is we always talk about the cities. And one of the reasons why the city policing is so different is in many cities, New York is a good example of this, the police force doesn't live in the city. Most New York City cops don't live in New York City. They live outside. They initially start in New York City. They make some cash after their second, third, or fourth year. They move outside. They move upstate, they move to Jersey, Long Island, they move someplace else. And they come in and they commute after a while. And when they start commuting in, this isn't their neighborhood anymore. It's just a city they police. They don't have a connection very often. Not always, but many of them don't have a connection. So it feels like an occupying force in many cases. So when that's the issue, and you don't have a connection, will this work? I don't know Philly very well. To be forward, Dave. It's not my city. I don't know it well. My gut says it's probably similar. But you go to other places more rural, like the cop, right? Or the sheriff or whoever's you shop with them. You maybe go to church with them. I mean, you know the cops. You rarely know the cops here in New York. You here or there, but rarely. It's a different issue. So we'll see what happens. So Senator says we don't need to defund the police. We need to demilitarize the police. I would buy that. I would. I would absolutely buy that. I think it's a better way of looking at it, right? If you go to defund, you're just making things bad. Demilitarize, okay, let's have that, and let's look at how you want to demilitarize, right? What works best for your area? The crime rates are different in different areas. So yes. So Nikolai says, I feel like the success of this policy could be a major 50-50, and will likely need extreme changes even if it succeeds. I think you're giving it too high of a success rate, tell you the truth. I think its success rate is actually lower. I think the chances are actually lower. The idea of when we are in a crime wave, a black market growth stage, a time where more and more people are disrespectful of authority in general, I feel like the odds of this succeeding are slim. I'm going to go with what Sandra was talking about. I actually don't think police presence should be lessened in this case, because police presence does tend to lower crime. It's a tendency. It's not a 100% rule, but it's a good, it tends to do so. But what if you followed Sandra's idea and you let the cops still be there, but just not so ready to fight, right? Much more about, hey, stop it. Don't shoot people, right? More like that, right? More, hey, you're pissing on the sidewalk. Dude, get out of here. What are you doing? Get out of here. There's people playing here. Move. I think if we had more of that, that's my gut to where I was. That plus, of course, end the black market. I mean, that's the critical piece, end the black market. So, yeah. The Shamrocker says, go back to sheriff's departments only. A sheriff will conduct local business better. He or she is not reelected. It behooves him to remove bad officers. I think you can find a decent sheriff environment. You can, but often not in cities. I mean, how do you have a sheriff's department in New York City? Each borough has its own laws. Each borough has its own sheriff department. It's a tough one when all New York City has one, big set of laws. Philly's similar, right? These are large areas with big cities. Philly has what, 2 million people? Is that right? Million people? Something like that. About 1 million, 2 million people in Philly. Chicago, about 1 million, 2 million people in Chicago. LA is like 3 million. New York has 8 million. I mean, as I mentioned all the time, our police force in New York City is 40,000 strong. How do you? I mean, it's a minor army. It's the equivalent. It's literally the equivalent of 3 divisions. It's 3 military divisions. The equivalent of a division somewhere between 10 and 15,000 people, give or take. What division tends to be in the military. It's 3 military divisions occupying New York City. Sheriff's Department. I'm not sure it works in our city or in any major city. I would argue. I question that one. That's an issue. So yeah. All right. Sam says, I'm torn. I'm a fan of less laws, but at the same time, I can see why cities have passed most of the laws they have. Most local level laws are due to something happening in the community. That's true. Most are, and some are cronyist. But yeah, again, if we got to try this, I'm glad it's local. I think it's going to fail, Sam, but I could be wrong. And Philly will show me, hey, Larry, you were wrong. This is the magic. Okay, good. Others can adopt it, but I feel like it's not going to work. So yes. All right. See here. Jericho, well, maybe this way cops can focus on more serious things like solving some homicides. But the cops don't tend to solve the homicides, right? The beat cops tend not to. The beat cops tend to gather, right? The detectives tend to solve if it's being solved. Usually, right? They usually do. So maybe it's not a bad idea. I mean, not a bad idea at all. Why not do that? I love that. Patricia says, haven't watched live on a Monday in a while, but what happened to ask anything Monday? It is that. You can ask anything you want, Patricia. I'm just getting you riled up, but I'll take any question. I'm going out trying to grab every question I can. Ask whatever you want. I didn't want to walk in here and be like, okay, what do you guys want? I didn't want to be like that. So I threw this topic up so we could start talking. But Patricia, ask anything you want. Totally fine. I take all the questions. Torrence says, Larry, could you share your plan for police reform? Yes, I will do it as quick as I can. I literally did more than one. I did an entire 2 videos on this. So if you want the down into details, search Larry Sharpe and Quick, QICC, and Larry Sharpe and FAQs, FAQS. The FAQS is the local and the quick is overall. Quick overall, QICC. First thing to do on a large scale, either state or national level, is to end qualified immunity. But once you end qualified immunity, well, now cops are liable and they're open and it's a problem. So along with that, that's a Q. You go to the I. And the I is insurance. Cops should hold their own liability insurance. I hold it as a business owner. Doctors have it. Lawyers have it. It means if you do something wrong or bad, the insurance is there to protect you and to pay any problems or issues or concerns. The insurance company will decide if they want to, go to court. They will pay the lawyer's fees. Guess who doesn't pay the fees now? We, the taxpayer. Right now, if a cop does something, taxpayer pays. What do they care, right? If you're a bad cop, you're encouraged. And if you're not a bad cop, you become apathetic because you're not paying for it. So who cares, right? So we want to make it to where the actual insurance company has to pay. Why? Well, if the insurance company has to pay, the insurance company by default will start setting good standards so they don't get in trouble. So the insurance company itself will begin to assist in creating standards outside the police force. So the police force isn't policing itself. The insurance community is also policing itself too, right? It changes it. It makes it a little bit better in that regard. But more than that, if it's the own insurance, what happens if you have a cop who just made a dumb mistake? They made a mistake. Their insurance rates maybe go up for a year and then they're back in action. Life is good. What if you got a bad cop? What if you got a bad cop and you see it? There are bad cops. And what happens now is a bad cop does something, whatever, in Queens or whatever, they do a bad thing. They don't, to my 2 cents point, they don't get fired, right? They get allowed to resign, right? If anything, they resign and they go upstate someplace. They get a job upstate somewhere. Well, they didn't get fired. They just resigned. So why wouldn't they get hired? They get hired. Do a bad thing there. What do you and I see? Oh, another bad cop. Now a cop's in upstate. It's the same cop, but he's doing a bad thing. Larry, is that true? Did you see Chauvin's sheet? Chauvin had 14 different things he had been in trouble with? Yeah, it's a common thing. Cops bounce all around. Well, insurance companies are going to follow you wherever you go. So if you make a mistake once, your rate goes up. You make a mistake again, your rate goes even higher. Is it worth it for you to keep messing up? You pay him 3 times as much as the other guy for your insurance every year. Now, 4th time, 3rd time, they go, you're not insurable, dude. If you're not insurable, you can't be hired, period. Now the police unions don't have to fire anybody. No one has to fire anybody. Insurance company says, I'm not going to insure you anymore. Insurance companies simply won't insure you, in which case you're not qualified anymore to be a police officer. So now there has to be no internal change. The blue wall can still stay a blue wall because it's going to. We're not going to stop that. And now I don't have to have politicians go, get that bad cop out or defund the police. Not required. Insurance company does it for us. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. To my 2 cents point, why would the unions accept that? Because we allow the unions to be insurance brokers. So the unions broker the insurance. So they get a cut of insurance. Absolutely. They get a cut. Now, what happens if all of a sudden they have a bunch of cops who are bad cops? Well, they have to they're dealing with admin to deal with bad cops. That's time, money, and energy that the union's spending because they're the ones who are the brokers. They're dealing with all the paperwork regarding all the bad stuff. They don't want to waste time, money on that. That's a waste of time, money, and energy. Scratch that. You're a bad cop, out. They're going to spend that time on the good cops because that's how they make their money. So the quality issue pops up. That's why the insurance piece is very good. So the next C is cannabis. Take cannabis off Schedule 1. If you pull cannabis off Schedule 1, and the president could do it tomorrow, just do it tomorrow. I was surprised that Bush didn't do it. W didn't do it. He admitted to smoking weed. He admitted to snorting coke. So why didn't he take cannabis off Schedule 1? He didn't. Big Pharma is what I think is the answer. But I don't have proof of that. That's what I think. Then I almost fell off my chair when Obama didn't do it. Obama was the weed guy. He was the guy smoking weed all day long when he was in high school. Picked some smoking weed, big weed guy, high all the time. He didn't take it off Schedule 1. Then Trump didn't take it off Schedule 1. And now Biden will take it off Schedule 1. Just take it off Schedule 1. The president can just do it. Say, it's off. How? My decree. It's off now. You don't even have to legalize cannabis. Just pull it off Schedule 1. Once you pull it off Schedule 1, why do cops have to make stops anymore? You watch everything change. Cops don't make stops for weed anymore. It goes away without having to change any other policies. Last piece, end civil asset forfeiture. And you end that either by just saying it's illegal or wrong, or just making a cap on how much any money and asset seized can go to a local town or city, right? So whatever, depending on where you are, only $1,000 per year or per month can go into it. That's it. Anything else, you either got to give back to the people or you got to send back on a tax rebate. You don't get to keep it. Once that happens, what's the incentive for the cop to do it? It's only for safety, not to help pay bills, which right now they're creating. What you're seeing is people are using law enforcement as a profit center. That ends. That will stop those types of things. So that's quick. That's the big part. The local part, facts, FAQS. That's how you break up your police force. F, family law. A, active policing. Q, quality of life. And S is, of course, social work. So you have 4 different parts to your police force. Now, this is, I mentioned with a gentleman who actually came on my show last year, upstate New York law officer. He was like, you know what? It may not work the same upstate. So I'm okay making a shift upstate into making it more of an active policing / admin side, maybe social work. So it might be a little bit different. This might be, AAS, maybe in that case, maybe that will get right. Not ACE, maybe, I don't know, whatever. But maybe I'll solve it. ASA. Maybe that's better. Anyway, but the point is, I might change it there because in the case of upstate, there's a different level of policing. But the point of breaking it up into 4 is for 2 reasons. One, each of these departments or groups require different training and different equipment. This helps to demilitarize parts of the police. But something else, you also make it a rule in your police force that a person can only stay a certain amount of time on the active police force side. So let's say, for example, first one is family law. Family law is, you get a domestic dispute, issues with kids, stuff like that. Do I really want a cop who just came off of, I don't know, a horrible traffic accident or murder, now taking that mindset and going into he, she said thing, yelling at each other? I don't. That one I probably want I want an also civilian component. Everyone has a community component. For the family law, you want to have people who are like marriage counselors, people like the clergy, chaplain to go along with the cop. So the cop goes there, and so does the clergy. In family law, the chaplain kind of leads it, or the psychiatrist leads it, right? The family therapist leads the encounter. Now, why would I do that? Because sometimes it's bad. Sometimes whatever, hubby or whomever is ready to beat someone up or shoot somebody. Okay, I got my cop there to put him down. Sometimes you got to put a guy down. That's a thing. Sometimes that has to happen, but often it doesn't. And I use chaplain as an example. You in your own area would decide what might make the most sense. The reason why I like chaplains, most of them would do it voluntarily, so no extra cost. And that's what they do. Chaplains are magical. I'm sorry, you people don't like chaplains. I don't care. They have magic powers. So they're magical. And they want to do this. They are like, I want to get involved and I want to fix this. So the chaplain lead it. The cop chills out. If he needs it, cop can jump in. Chaplain tries to fix the situation if he can. That's the family law part of policing, right? So 2 people go, one's a cop, one is some form of community assistance in some way. Idea would be chaplain or something. Next is active policing. That's the A. That piece is that's getting bad guys. That's what we think of as policing. That's going out getting bad guys, right? Now that civilian or community component would be community watch. Community watch being able to say, we know what the guys are. That you have a good community watch, the odds of them knocking in the wrong door, slim to none. Don't go in that door. No. Go that door. That's where the guy is, right? Community watch will help. You add that depending on how you can locally, but that's active policing. Now, obviously, if you got the family law, you don't require heavy artillery. You don't require anything of anything except, billy clubs and maybe a gun, and you're good. That's all you need for the family law. Active policing, you might want to have some firepower there. Okay, depending on where you are, what city you are in. You might want to have some there. But it's a more important piece. Active policing is the hardest at policing. That's the type where you see the most stuff. Stuff can get really bad. Sometimes family law, depending upon where you are in this country, it could be family law too, but usually active policing is where the worst stuff happens. We don't keep our Marines in the field for any more. Maximum is 15 months. Usually it's 12 months or less, but never more than 15 months. Why do we keep our cops in the front line for 15 years. Why would you do that? No, you make a local rule. You can be active policing for whatever, 2 or 3 years or whatever is appropriate in your world. And you pull the cop off the front line and you make them do quality of life for a year or social work for a year or family law for a year and get their head out of that space. Let them deal with their stuff. Maybe they got some PTSD, whatever it is, they can deal with some of that stuff and you let them back in. You might say, well, I want to do it now because cops are tough guys just like military guys are. They're not going to be like, well, I need help. They're going to say, no, I'm hardcore. You don't give them a choice. You say you can only do whatever, 2, 3, 4, depending upon your area. Again, this is localized. I'm going to give you 3 years. You do 3 years on the front line. You got to come off for a year. Everybody does it. You know, police officer, bad guy, tough guy. Everybody does it. So where you going? You go to social work, you go to quality of life, you go to family law. You're going to one of them. You can't stay active policing more than 3 years. He does a year in quality of life, and he figures out, you know what? I like that. I'm going to stay. Great. Or he goes, no, back to policing. Go in. Does it for 3 years. He's got to come off. You'd have better cops. Just like you have better soldiers, Marines, sailors. You don't keep people in the field that long. It doesn't make sense. Not good for your psyche. What do you expect? This is common sense, guys. That's why you have that rotation piece. Also from active policing into quality of life. Now, quality of life, that's things like traffic tickets, noise, pollution, stuff like that, right? Way different than other things you're going to see. Right? Way different. And that would actually be local nonprofits who could act as dispatches and place like that, call up and ask them as customer service reps to turn the music down before I have to send a cop out there, stuff like that, right? Now, generally speaking, quality of life is a bigger issue in cities compared to suburbia or rural, but not 100%. Each one's different. So quality of life too, with another civilian component. Lastly, social work. Social work is things like homeless people, addiction, stuff like that. And you can see already, different rules for each, different equipment for each, different training for each, and a civilian component for each, meaning cops have to work partnership with community people. So even if that cop doesn't live in the community, even if that cop doesn't care about that community, I don't know what the cop thinks, right? Doesn't matter. Someone from that community is in the car with them. That's their liaison. That's their connection. That's their connection, right? Now, in the case of active policing, at a minimum, they have a connection to the community through the community watch. It may not be in the car in active policing, right? But in family law, you're going to have a clergy or you're going to have, you know, some chaplain from a local church, synagogue, mosque, whatever. You're going to have somebody there, right? Who's going to do that work for you. So some of the community's there. Quality of life. Your dispatching is coming out of a local nonprofit. Community is there. So you got that too. And then social work. You're going to have, guess what? People who are studying social work. Every college has got people, even community colleges, local colleges and universities all have people. Grab the students if you want to. Grab the people, volunteers, bring them all in. You want to study social work? All right, I got something for you. Ride with the cop, 6 months. Still want to be a social worker? Maybe. Good. Because if you do, you're going to be a really good social worker. Or you're going to realize, why am I doing this? I'm out. Either way, it's good. Nothing but a win, right? And now, again, the social workers can do much more of a lead when it comes to things like addiction, homelessness, things of that sort. And the cop is there because, again, sometimes you got to put a guy down. That's a thing. I got it. But that becomes secondary, if that makes any sense. You put those two things together, allow them to rotate through, use that as a way of fixing policing. You can easily, clearly adjust, reform your police force with relative ease. Relative ease. If people understand how it works, where you move through, adjust and shift. And you'll find some cops who like staying in quality of life and don't ever want to leave. And some cops who love social work. And some cops who they want to get back into active police. They just love it. That's their thing. Okay, move around. But now when you had the top part, qualified immunity, insurance, and of course, getting rid of civil asset forfeiture and cannabis changes everything. That's police reform, Torrence. I hope that answers your question. So yes. Jericho says, oh yeah, I really like your plan about rotating police out of the most violent areas. They get burned out. They're just humans. Cops are not magical. People think, oh, all cops are bad or all cops are great. They're humans who get affected like everybody else does. Yeah. Pete says, how do we get mass with the kids ASAP? Pete, it's driving me crazy. I was at a park 2 days ago, I think. Yeah, 2 days ago with my daughter. My daughter's 11. She went to see a party with other people. This is a park outside New York City. There were kids there, kids outside in a park wearing masks. I don't blows up. I'm saying, what's wrong with you parents? And New York City, it's like 60% of us are vaccinated. So most people are vaccinated, and the kids don't get it anyway, and they're outside, and everything's open. Why are you wearing masks? Still are. I don't know what to do, Pete. It's insane. I literally ask people when I see them, why are you wearing a mask? Well, for other people's safety. Whose? I've said that before. And they just walk away. Like they don't have an answer. I've actually done it. I've said, why are you wearing a mask? Not mad, just asking. And they go, well, people's safety. I go, whose? Walk away. They don't know. I'm wearing a mask because I'm going to virtue signal you, Pete. I am so virtuous. Oh, wait, 2 masks. In fact, I saw a guy 2 days ago double masking in a park outside with 2 friends, and the 2 friends he was talking to were not wearing a mask. I don't know, Pete. I wish I had an answer for that one. I really do. Magic powers, it's crazy. Yes. Jimmy says, I've pled guilty twice for things that never happened. It's easy to pay the fine and tarnish my record. That's the sad part. Often that's true. Because if you get arrested, you got to spend time in prison. In jail. That destroys everything. Yes. Often getting arrested is the end of you. That's the end. You got arrested, it's over. Yes, absolutely. So, Craig says, King Andrew said vax folks nothing to worry about. He did. You're right. He said it today. People were like, well, what if we don't, what if we're scared to go to the New York State Fair? And my Lord and Master, King Andrew Cuomo II of New York, oh, hail the king, he actually said, oh, whoa, you're not coming to spend your money in New York? Well, who needs masks then? Nobody does. You're vaccinated, don't worry about it. Literally, he was like, don't worry about it. He's like, if someone didn't get vaccinated and they don't wear a mask, that's on them. And I was like, so you became a libertarian today? Oh, so today you're libertarian. You're about 10 years late, but I guess I should be happy. Better late than never. Today you're libertarian. I mean, I remember 2 times where Cuomo all of a sudden became libertarian. One of them was when he thought the federal government was redistributing New York State wealth. He didn't like that at all. He became super libertarian all of a sudden. That's redistribution of wealth. That's unfair. Okay, now you care about that. And now today, he's all of a sudden libertarian. All right, then. So I guess no more mask mandates anywhere? I like that idea. Let's follow that. But they still do, though. I mean, Pete's right. They do. Yes. Kelly says, I'm all in favor of accountability boards. In this current environment, like here in Rochester, we can't allow it to devolve into hate the police. Yes. Yes, you're totally right, Kelly. You hear me say it all the time. Cops are human beings. That's who they are. There are some bad ones, and most of them are good, like all humans. There's just some bad human beings, but most of us are very good. Cops are the same way. I completely agree. Yes. Devolve into they're always wrong. I'm in favor of accountability with a recommendation from the accountability board, but the AB recommendation should be public so we can know how often the recommendation is regarded. The issue with the accountability boards, Kelly, is who's on the board, who appoints the board, what if people don't talk about it? The boards have been in New York City for a long time, and they don't really work. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't work, but the plan that New York City has used has not worked. You'd have to change that. And it's also political, which is why I kind of wanted to go towards the insurance companies and the courts instead. Not that that's the best answer. I mean, a great answer. I feel like it's a better answer. I'd have to see accountability boards work. In my city, they haven't. And maybe I should check out Rochester and see how that worked. It's not working in my city. That's what I would say. So, yes. Shannon Bray, how are you, sir? Says she never went to the border. Yeah, that's right. She went down. I'm sorry. She didn't go to the border. You're right. She went down South America. I'm sorry. I stand correct. You are correct. She went down to South America, but doesn't matter. She's brown. That's all that matters. Yeah. Here we go. Tom says 75 days and the border czar hasn't found the border. Doesn't matter. So yes. Carl says, statistically, I'm more likely to own a gun and have the same probability of doing drugs, but I'm not white. So statistically, less likely to be charged for owning a gun and doing drugs. The definition of systemic racism to change from party to party. Hold on. Statistically, I'm more likely to own a gun and to have the same probability of doing drugs. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Give me a second to get that one, Carl. Okay. But I'm white. So I'm also statistically less likely to be charged for owning a gun and doing drugs. Also true. Yes, both of those things are true. The definition of systematic racism needs to change from party to party. Yes, I would agree. And you guys have heard me talk about this 1,000 times already. When it comes to systemic racism, you can't say the system is racist and then blame the individual. Either the individuals are racist or the system is racist. I go with the system's racist. I honestly believe in my heart. And if I'm proved wrong one day, I'll be proved wrong. The average white guy in this world doesn't get up and go, man, I don't like people of X color. I'm sure some do. I'm sure those people exist. But the average white person wakes up in the morning and goes, let me start my day. They're not going, what about white people or black people or Mexicans or Muslims? The average white person in America gets up and doesn't care about race at all. They got their own stuff they're dealing with, their own problems they're trying to fix, their own good things they're trying to enjoy, their own family and friends and business and work. They don't care about race at all. It means nothing to them. That's the average one. Again, I don't want to be, there are racists in the world and they exist in America, and people get up and go, I hate black people. That person exists, but the average person doesn't. The average person, white or Hispanic or black or whatever, Asian, just wants to live their life. Now, are they affected by a system? Yes. We're affected by systems. Of course we are. And I'll go back to the policing piece that I brought up, if cops are being used as a profit center, which they are or have been and still are being used as a profit center, so now cops are now incentivized to go get money, to collect stuff. They're incentivized to do so. Well, where would cops do it? Poorer neighborhoods. Of course they would. It's easier. People who don't know, who don't have lawyers, right? They go to poorer neighborhoods. Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy was saying now he pled twice, right? Because he didn't want to deal with the issues and problems. You're in a poor neighborhood. That's how you think in general. Okay, fine, whatever. So of course you do. You give everything up just so you can get out. Don't go to jail and stay in jail forever. Of course you do that. Well, poor neighborhoods statistically are more often brown and black compared to white. So is the individual officer racist? I mean, again, some are. There's no doubt that those people exist. But is the average officer come onto the force racist? No, he's the same as anybody else. But now he has to spend 10 years, or whatever time he does, basically busting brown and black people to get money because he's incentivized to do that. So he does. Well, now it's 10 years later. And he spent most of his career arresting brown and black people. So what does he think? Yeah, brown and black people, probably bad. That's systemic. That's what I mean by systemic. The individual guy or gal isn't bad. The system's bad. So I have an idea. Stop using cops as a profit center. They'll stop doing that. That's end civil asset forfeiture. Get cannabis off Schedule 1. They'll stop busting black kids for drugs because it's easier and faster. You bust a white kid for drugs, the odds are his family is wealthier than the black family, right? And that's been true for many years. Now, because that's true, now also judges and such also think so. They believe so. Even when the white kid just as poor or the black kid just as rich, the image is, oh, no, I'll be safer as a cop busting the black kid than I will the white kid, even if it's not true. That's systemic. If you stop the system, I don't care about the individuals. They'll get better. And the bad cop or the racist person will still be bad or racist. That will still happen and we'll punish them effectively, right? Because that person is still going to exist. But that's what I mean by that. You're correct. Yes. All right. Joe says, baked or kettle cooked potato chips. Many of you know already, I'm keto lifestyle. I've been keto for now 11 years. Is that about right? Give or take 11 years. So it's very rare that I eat potato chips. I rarely ever eat carbs, right? Here or there, but just not that much anymore. So it's rare that I ever have potato chips. When I used to have potato chips, my favorite was actually two types. One was the regular, greasy, oily, cooked Wise potato chips. I love those. And the second I like was barbecue potato chips. I loved barbecue potato chips. Regular, thin, crunchy potato chips. That's what I liked. And sometimes I would eat Pringles here or there. Only the regular ones. I didn't like any of the flavored ones. So I guess I'm kind of vanilla when it comes to potato chips, except for barbecue. I did love the barbecue potato chips. That's one of my things. Barbecue potato chips and Coke or Pepsi, either one. Some cola. Love that. Barbecue potato chips and cola. I don't get Coke or Pepsi. I tend to, if the food is super greasy, I tend to like Coke better. If it isn't super greasy, I tend to like Pepsi better. But whatever you got, I would drink. But I don't anymore. I don't really have soda anymore either. It's carbs. I don't really drink it. The problem I have is when I start drinking soda, I don't stop. I don't stop. I remember when I was first married to my wife and she would go out and get some soda for us, right? So she was trying to be nice and she went and got two liters of soda. This is before I was on keto. And I get mad at her. She said, why? I'm getting 2 liters, two liters so that you'll have some for the rest of the week. And I said, no, if you put 2 liters in the fridge, now I have to drink 2 liters. If you just put 1 liter in, I'll only drink 1 liter because I'm going to drink whatever's in the refrigerator. It doesn't matter if you put 1 or 7. So don't buy 7 because I'll drink all 7. And it's not good to drink 2 liters of soda. That's not good for you. If you didn't know that, Joe, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. But I would have. So we learned that lesson. No soda in the house because I'll just drink it all. So anyway, now you see my kryptonite. Carl says, last year we thought defund the police meant defederalize the police, but it turns out they're different. Yeah, absolutely. But you see, the funny thing is now with defund the police, you see a split in the Democratic Party, right? You find one group that is like tripling down, like, yes, defund, end them. Nothing's a crime, right? The other side being defund. We were just kidding. Who said defund? That's a child. Stop. Those two sides. And I think you find the bigger chunk of Democrats are moving more towards we were kidding. Who defund, silly you? Who said that, Carl? Not me. I think a lot of Democrats are moving down that road. So Lion's Heart says, but isn't police not living in the area they work a safety issue? If an officer in the area they work, there's a chance they get followed home or at least increased chance. That has not been true at all. As a general rule, cops are extremely safe. As a general rule, there are absolute exceptions, particularly when it comes to mobsters. But generally speaking, if you've noticed, most of the time when cops stop someone with a gun, they don't even shoot back. They tend to throw the gun away, try to hide the gun. It's rare that cops get in a shootout. That's changed a bit less recently because of the disrespect of cops recently. But if you go back before COVID, it was rare. It happened, but it was very rare. Most of the time, they didn't shoot back. That was a normal thing. People tend to not shoot cops. They're intimidating. They know that once you shoot a cop, I mean, you're done. Your life's over. It's over. You shoot some other gangbanger, you'll be out in a couple years. You shoot a cop, you're done for. If they even let you get back to the jail. So it's rare that happens. And they do have some cities. Some cities have residency rules, and they have cops live in a community, and they have found no difference in safety at all so far. So I think in theory that might be true. In practice, it hasn't happened. It hasn't been an issue at all. So yeah, and I would think if you're just trying to get bad guys out of a community, the community is going to support you. So the odds of you getting shot or affected, slim, because the community is going to be behind you. That guy or that gal who lives in that community, he lives in that community. So he's got to go home. People don't know, you shot that cop? Oh, that's it. They're calling you up. You're going to jail. And then they know it. So it's rare that happens. Hope that answers your question. So Donna says, my only question with cops getting insurance is insurance companies can be problematic too. Valid point, Donna. This is not a perfect answer. I think it's a better answer. They're gouging people and just paying claims whether the person's right or not. I think that happens too, but here it is. Now the unions come in. And this goes back to my 2 cents idea. If we let the unions become the brokers, the unions will have to negotiate the pricing with the insurance company. Because the union is going to want to get a bunch of people, into the police force so they can make money on unions. So you're right. It's not perfect. There are problems. And we might have to make some shifts here or there. If you're dealing with city, then you have a certain rule to deal with city cops versus rural cops. There could be some issues there. It's a valid worry. I think it's a much better answer than our current answer. And I think if we just did it for a year or two, I think we would easily figure those things out. And now it's in the union's best interest to not be gouged. So they're going to push back, right? And if a union, there's what, 900,000 law enforcement agents? I think a million, maybe 900,000, a million law enforcement agents, officers, in the United States. That's a lot of insurance money. That's all I'm saying. That's a lot of insurance money, right? At only $1,000 a year. What's that? $1 billion? Is my math right? About $1 billion, right? It's just $1,000 a year. So if it's $2,000 to $4,000 a year, that's big money. I think they find an answer, Donna. That's just my view. They didn't find an answer. So yes. Sam says, torn on demilitarization relation to the police. 100% on board with the why of it, but also I don't want to handicap police stopping gangs and drug traffickers that have military-style gear. Local PD better than the feds. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you'd rather them not have to call the feds in. It's a valid concern, Sam, right? You'd rather local PD deal with it, not the feds. And feds are going to have far more firepower. What I would say is, I get your point. What I would say is, if you create policies to end the black market, then the gangs and the drug traffickers by default begin to go away. And I think you see the change in gang membership and trafficking after prohibition ended in alcohol. I think you see that happen too, and the violence go down. I think you can, with the right policies, deal with that. But I get your point. Well, then again, if you do that, then I think you have, again, your 4 types of cops, right? Your family law doesn't require that. Quality of life doesn't require that. Social work doesn't require that. You'd only have the big guns in the active policing part. So I'd be around the big guns, military style. I'd have it available to use if I'm in the active policing arm. But when I done with my 3 years and I spent a year in quality of life, you know what? I got a revolver and a nightstick, and I'm good. It's quality of life. Revolver, nightstick. That's all I got. I'm good. Taser. Sorry. Revolver, taser, and maybe not even revolver. Maybe it's probably not a revolver, but maybe not. I don't know where you live in that case. Maybe you don't even want to have a revolver in quality of life. Maybe not. But so I would demilitarize those areas and just keep the A of the facts militarized if you're going to go that route. So I can see your point. So, all right. Each precinct becomes an elected office like a sheriff's department. So you're saying we start having elections at the local level like that for policing? Could be done. It's not a bad idea. It could be done, right? You would have to, we do have local elections already for, the local city council or something like that. You could do it. Does that mean that each one now has different jurisdiction areas, though, too? Is that a problem? Or do they all maintain jurisdiction based upon the county, or they're just broken up for administration issues? You could do that. You break it up for admin, but not for jurisdiction. So in theory, a cop out of any area in, say, Queens could, in theory, go to any other area if they need help. To Sam's point, if all of a sudden there's a, whatever gang activity or something terrible in some areas, they could grab the officers from local precincts, and they would still have jurisdiction in the other district as long as it's all within Queens or whatever, all within Brooklyn or something. Could work. That's a real revamping. It would change a lot. You've got me thinking, Shamrocker. That's not that maybe could work. Do I want in a city though this large to have people who are elected into those positions who don't necessarily have experience, but then I'm voting for it, so it's up to me, right? Okay. But the advantage of that, though, is you different enforcement, too. So certain areas have less enforcement. Do you increase or decrease the chances of corruption? It's a swap. I'm open to it. Shamrocker, I'm open to it. I'm totally open to it. Let me run that through my head here. Michael says, I think the police need better training in nonviolent restraint and apprehension through things like martial arts, jiu-jitsu. This should be part of the ongoing police training, in my opinion. I completely agree. I think all those things are good. Yeah, whatever. It shouldn't be, I'm in trouble, draw my firearm. I agree completely. Yes. What's your favorite color? My favorite color shifts all the time. Some of you may not know this, but I was one of the odd kids in high school. I actually majored in art in high school, and I was a pretty good artist. for a high school kid. To me, it's relative, right? For a high school kid, I was a pretty good artist. I actually sold 2 of my paintings when I was 17 years old. My oldest daughter has taken kind of that piece from me. She's a very good artist. She's probably going to be a better artist than I would have ever was going to be. She is the one who is doing the illustrations for my book. So she's actually doing that. So yeah, she's much better. So I love all the colors. I have moved around between green and gray. I like those 2 a lot. And I have sometimes gone on red or blues, but usually I like green and gray. Those tend to be my favorite colors. Sometimes black. So if you can think about Dr. Doom, Dr. Doom's colors, those are my favorite colors. Dr. Doom's colors are my favorite colors. I'm actually going to show you. Hold on, I'm going to do a little piece here. If I can show this piece here, I will show you a little bit, if I can. And there we go. All right, I will show you since you asked. Here is my daughter's work right there on happiness, the book on happiness right there. That's my book. You can go to Sharpe if you want to. Click on the book, you'll see it. That is my daughter's work right there. So yes, my daughter is a better artist, or will be if she isn't already, than I am. So yes. How do we contribute to your show? There are many ways, Joe. I'm so happy you asked. The first you can do is just like, comment, and share. That would be awesome. Like, comment, and share is so important. It matters tremendously. Please do that. If you think you want to do more, you can. You can sponsor the show. Head on over to patreon.com/Sharpeway. Throw me $10 a month, unless you're making the big dollars. If you're making big dollars, throw me more. Throw me 25, $100, whatever you got. Throw me the big dollars if you got it. If you don't, no worries. $10 is fine. That's what helps me move forward. It helps me pay my team. It helps me get other stuff done. Because if you look at the actual description here, there's a Linktree link. Click that link and you'll see that we're on Patreon. But not just that, you can listen to us on a podcast, right? Head over to our Anchor link there. Listen to us on a podcast. If you want to, the older shows all day. You can listen to any of those while you're in a car or something. All there. Life is good. Also, we have a TikTok account. We got a Sharpeway clips piece where you can like send clips to your friends and such. So all those things are great. And of course, my sponsors, theadvocates.org are my sponsor. Heading over to the police accountability survey. Talking about cops today, aren't we? Well, tell us what you think about it. What do you think about police accountability? Let us know. Please click over there. The link right there is in the description. Click on that. Take that survey. It's about 5 minutes. The good thing about that part is that helps me financially because they are a sponsor. So they're helping to support the show, and you don't have to pay except 5 minutes of your time. So give me 5 minutes of your time. Take that survey. And when you're done taking that survey, guess what you can do? Share it. Share it with friends and family. Let them take it too. If they're all taking it, now the advocates are happy. The advocates for self-government are happy. I'm getting supported. You don't have to pay. See how good that is? But if you want to, you can. Absolutely. Patreon.com/Sharpeway. $10 helps. Last thing you can do, I'm glad you asked, Joe. Subscribe to my YouTube page, the Sharpeway YouTube page. I'm almost at 1,800. I know that's not great. Larry Sharpe's got everything. My Larry Sharpe stuff is packed. I got it. Thank you for all the support of Larry Sharpe. But you got to support Sharpeway too. What happens when they cancel me? Because they will eventually cancel me. So when I'm canceled, I got to go someplace else. Where am I going to go? Sharpeway. So please go ahead, click subscribe to my YouTube Sharpeway page. Follow me on Twitter, Sharpeway. And of course, like the Facebook page is Sharpeway, because on Thursdays now, I only do stuff from the Sharpeway pages, not from our Sharpe pages. So if you want to get information knowing that I'm doing stuff on Thursdays, you got to go to Sharpeway. It's the only way. So Joe, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you helping us out. Yes. All right. My 2 cents is I totally agree with your plan, Larry. Thank you. I like it. There we go. Chad says, should we be cautious about raising wages, i.e. companies moving to China and inflation? Should we be cautious about raising wages? I think you mean minimum wage. Is that what you mean, Chad? Or do you mean just companies raising wages? I'm not sure. Let me touch both of those. I'm not sure which question you asked, so I will answer both. I would like people to work for a salary that they feel comfortable, that they feel they're worth. That's what I would like. I think in the past, too many Americans have relied upon the government or the organization to tell them how much they're worth. One of the reasons why we have minimum wage. Now, there's something good about this and bad about this. The good part is, well, companies get to pay people what they want. Nice for companies. Not good for us, though, for the average worker. The average worker needs to have better and more power and control. So what do most workers do? They went to unions and they said, hey, together we can bargain together and we can then get higher salaries. Not a bad idea. Good for you. Love it. Then the government started stepping in. When the government started stepping in, unions actually became less valuable. Why? Because the government was doing it for you. So that began to change. I'm not against people working for whatever they think they're worth. They should. And if that changes the environment or changes the economy, so be it. Why would I want you to work for less than you think you're worth? It's your time, your labor, your energy. You should work for what you think you're worth. And hopefully you can find a match of an organization that thinks you're worth that and you agree and you go. But here's the reality of worth. People will say, well, labor is worth $50 an hour, $20 an hour, $100 an hour, whatever. It's not true. Labor is worth what people will pay for it. Now, how was that decided? Well, because the person's smart or savvy? No. One thing only, my friend. Perceived scarcity. That's it. Perceived scarcity. If I think I can get that job done by anybody, whether it's true or not, if I think so, I don't want to pay much for it. If I think I get a job done overseas the same as you, I don't want to pay much for it. But if I believe that, no, there's very few people who can do that job that I want done, I will pay more for it. And that's the key. So I don't think we should be cautious about raising wages, meaning individual companies. If people aren't showing up for work, you're going to have to raise wages or they won't show up. That's kind of how it works, or change your environment, right? Wages aren't the only thing, to be clear. And particularly for youngsters, millennials and Zoomers, particularly for them, but for anybody, wages aren't the only thing. They are a key component. They're not unimportant. But people also want jobs because they want to either connect to someone, feel good, feel better, all those types of, they have some freedom. All those types of things also matter. So if I can't give you more money, I should try to give you something else on top of that, and you might still come work for me, depending upon who you are and what you care about. A good example of that is nonprofits. A lot of people work for nonprofits. They don't make that much money, but the emotion that they get from it, it's worth it. Or the type of work schedule they get, they believe it's worth it. And that's what that matters, that you're satisfied. So I don't think the companies should be concerned about raising wages. They should be thinking about, how do I give better compensation to include other things other than wages to people so they'll show up. Now, I have to balance that now against the other thing, which I wasn't sure you were talking about, which is raising minimum wage. This is a problem. There's a big difference between raising minimum wage and talking about minimum wage. You might go, what do you mean? Is there a problem with me as anybody, someone on a podcast, some executive saying, you know what, people should be paid more? No, it's a good thing. I have an opinion. I can say what I want. You know, if you're on fast food in today's world, fast food, a lot of people, you know, they should be paid more. I'm making this up. I don't actually know what the actual salaries are, but for sake of argument, I believe they should be paid more. I can say that, no worries. And if the society changes and says, you know, we're not showing up. If you don't pay X dollars, then we're not showing up. If people won't work at Wendy's for less than $30 an hour, then that's the value of labor, right? If people won't show up for that, if they'll only show up for $30 an hour, that's the value of labor. In which case, burgers might have to cost more money. Oh, well, what will happen then? Well, of course, you know what's going to happen. They're going to automate. They're already doing it. They're going to automate. There'll be less people working. But then again, those few people working will have better jobs, which will sound bad. And somebody will be fired. That will suck. But in the long run, if the market says that, then the market will begin to shift. But I'm not talking about market now. I'm talking about me just saying now, as the same executive or someone, now I'm an executive, I have power. So I'm now going to say, yeah, you got to make it $50 an hour or $30 an hour, whatever it is. And now the government's going to pass a law and make it. That wasn't set by the market. That's going to have far more disruption, far faster, because we're not going to be ready to move for it. And when that happens, small businesses get crushed even more. If we begin to raise the minimum wage even higher after the COVID, you're going to watch so many small businesses go under even more, replaced by franchises, which franchises are basically larger businesses allowing people ownership of their larger business. The larger businesses buy in bulk, able to buy stuff overseas, negotiate with the government, have lobbyists, have law firms, those types of things. You're going to see that. So yes, should we be cautious about the states and federal government raising minimum wage? Yes, we should be cautious of that. Individuals working how they feel? No, that's what's supposed to happen naturally. I wish it would happen more. I wish more people would get together and ask for more salary and raises. That's what's supposed to happen. So I'm actually okay with that. Now for the last piece of this, because this is an open question. Now we have to worry about something else, which is now small businesses are literally competing against the government because the government's throwing checks to everybody. That's a problem. That's not really the market. I want to wait till after the checks go away. When the checks go away, do people still say, no, I'm not showing up unless you pay me $30 an hour, whatever? If that actually happens when the checks go away, then that's the new wage. Okay. But if all of a sudden they're like, oh, $8 is better than no bucks. If that's what people do, then $8 actually is what it is. I hope I didn't dodge that question. I was trying to get it all three of those pieces. I hope I got it down. So yes. Lepke says, even without qualified immunity, police are indemnified by the union or employment contract. They can be sued, but they never have to pay. That's my point. You make it the insurance company changes. Chad says, flat tax versus progressive tax. I am all about flat tax. I mean, look, I of course I'd like to get rid of most of these taxes, but if my only choice is these two, if that's all I got, I'm going flat, right? Flat is fairer for everybody. It is fair for everybody. The wealthy, as we all know, pay more tax compared to the poor. However, by percentage, they actually pay less by percentage. Make a flat tax, they'll actually pay better. As long as you have to get rid of loopholes, or no. That makes any sense. You have to get rid of loopholes, or no. But loopholes, yes. As long as you get rid of them, yes, absolutely. So, let's see here. Every municipality has insurance to back cops. Yeah, but the municipality's paying. That's the problem. They're paying. Sorry, they're paying and the cops aren't. Yes. Police need better training and restraint. Oh, we dealt with this already. Yep, absolutely. All right. Shamrocker says, in the spirit of AMA, will you take some time to stop in and follow the Liberty Talk Radio Club on Clubhouse? I think I'm going to be on that thing. Isn't it coming soon? I think I agreed to be on it at one point. I think I'm going to be on it. 9:30 one night. I think I'm going to be on it already. I think I'm already part of it, I think. Yeah, I'm already part of it. I think so. Maybe I'm not. Okay. I will. I guess I got to get my Android. I'll get on Clubhouse. I'm not a huge Clubhouse fan, to be forward. I'm just not a huge Clubhouse. I could spend an hour and a half here with you, get far more back and forth, get far more people to talk to. I mean, each one of these shows I do, it's released on at least 6 different platforms. I get at least 1,000 views, at least, if not 2, 3, 4, 5,000 views sometimes, depending on what I'm talking about, who my guest is. McAfee was amazing. McAfee got like 30,000 views on McAfee. So, I mean, I get lots of views here on different platforms that I'm on. Do I want to go on Clubhouse and talk to 30 people for 2 hours? And it goes away? When here I can keep it, we can rewatch it? I guess it's okay. But I'm not a huge fan. But I will go on. Yes, I will go on. Yes. Brennan says, crime spree is happening because cops being told not to kill criminals who shot be shot. Crime spree is happening because cops are being told not to kill criminals who shot. I'm not sure where you're going with that, but I don't know if cops are told not to kill. They're still killing criminals. I'm not sure they're told not to do that. I'm not sure I'm buying that one, Brandon. I'm not sure. Susan says, better training for cops, support cops in mental health. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Susan. Yes. There's a lot going on in these streets in New York City. 100% yes. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Jay says, yay, it's Rowdy Sharpe. I used to love Roddy Piper. By the way, he passed away. Those of you who don't know, the old WW, back in the day it was WWF, not WWE. Yes, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. Used to love him. Piper's Pit used to have back in the day. I know I'm dating myself, but that's what it used to be. And then he passed away. The greatest movie he ever made without question was, of course, They Live. Amazing cult classic movie. Love it, love it, love it. I could still watch it today. Like if it came on, I'd put it on and just throw an hour and a half away and watch it. I would do it 100%. Yes. My 2 cents says, yeah, you're right. Cops go after your cars. They do. That's true. Yes, they absolutely do. Jay says, take call from prosecutors, judges, and other elected officials. Better yet, privatize and decentralize law enforcement at the community level. You went too far, Jay. This country is nowhere near ready for that second piece. Not that you're wrong, please. Not that you're wrong. This country is just so not ready for that. That's just like, you might also say, we'll all move to Mars. This is where the country is right now. Even taking away qualified immunity from prosecutors, judges, elected officials would be difficult. Again, I agree with you. I would love to go to those because prosecutors do whatever the hell they want, any way they want, and they become almost like little gods. Look at Ms. Harris right now. Ms. Harris right now, you can see how she's acting, former prosecutor, right? That's how they act. They become just righteous. Yes, they do become that. So I agree with you. Let's go step by step. 1, 2, 3. Then we can do that. How would Gov Sharpe end out of control prosecutors? Oh, yeah. Yeah, by calling them out. Seriously. I mean, I think Jay is right. I mean, I think we should end qualified immunity. I think we absolutely should. But that may be a bridge too far. So what would I do then? I would call them out, literally. Right? I talked about the idea of when I was running for governor of having an office of transparency, right? But I also about having the office of the pardon. I don't want to be pardoning people just in my last 6 months in my job. I want pardoning and commuting to be a thing, like it should be happening every month, right? So I have an office of the pardon. Out of control prosecutors would come up in those offices of the pardons multiple times. And if you're coming up 3, 4 times on pardoning and commuting sentences because of you, you're an out of control prosecutor. And I now have data. This is the guy. Every month I'm pardoning people. This guy's terrible. Look what he's doing. Look at her. She's terrible. Oh my God. Judges, same thing. Look at judges. What are they doing? So when you have an office of the pardon, you now have documentation of prosecutors and or judges who are out of control. So that's how you fix that without the qualified immunity piece. I would love to get rid of qualified immunity. I think Jay is correct. I just don't know if that's realistic in New York State. So I'd rather do this instead. This is a way of doing it without having to do that. I hope that answers your question, Paul. So, and conflict resolution needs to be taught in schools and diversion tactics. Yes, 100%. And there are people doing that, right? One of the people, believe it or not, doing that is a guy named Maj Touré in Philadelphia. He's talking about trying to, resolve conflict without having to go to firearms or fists. He's trying to do that. He is actually working on that. And this is literally what the chaplains do. That's their thing. That's why I want them in the family law part of the police force. Because if all of a sudden, you have the cops who are in active duty in other places, active policing, move into family law, they literally spend time in the same car with the chaplain who's going to be doing nothing but that. And they'll learn through osmosis, figuring it out, seeing them do it, on the job training. Absolutely. Plus, of course, teach them, but even better. Yes. Brian says, one of the things I've heard about, why can't they pull MJ off Schedule 1, is that they would violate provisions of international agreements we have. Of course, as libertarian, we probably shouldn't be in those agreements in the first place. Why would it? Okay. I'm sure that's true. And who do you think was the nation that put those provisions in international agreements? It was us. Do you think they cared about weed when we made a deal with Mexico? They didn't care. We put that in. So we take it out. Done. That's it. Yes, done. Liberty Lockdown is on Tim Pool today, apparently. Yeah, get some Liberty Lockdown. I love that. Awesome. Good to go. I was on Liberty Lockdown show. That's awesome. Good for him. That's great. Brennan says, I was watching Family Guy yesterday, and Stewie said, if anyone finds a Lincoln log logged in a man's skull, I don't know how that happened, but I need to get it back to complete my James Madison cabin. Thanks. There we go. Thanks. Senator says, police departments need to hire a psychiatrist armed with a tranquilizer gun to deal with violent people suffering from mental illness. You know what's funny is you say that, but if you were a social worker working in the social worker area, you might come up with a plan like that. I don't know if that's a good plan. I have no idea, but it might be. If people are actually doing that, then that would make sense. You would figure it out and you'd find the right stuff for that. You probably wouldn't want that for active policing, or maybe you would. You probably wouldn't want that for, for family law, or maybe you would. But if you're using tranquilizer guns or something like that, you got to know how much to whom, because now you're going to knock somebody out, they're going to die. So I'm not sure that's the right answer. But again, I don't have to decide that. If you break your police force up, they will figure this out if that's a thing. Sounds pretty interesting. Trank gun? Sounds interesting. But anyway, I mean, how do you know how much you put in the body and whatever? Whatever. I'm open to the idea. I want things to get better. Let them figure this stuff out. Yes, 100%. All right, see if I can grab this here. Still see people wearing gloves in the grocery store. Yes. It doesn't. Yes. Logic says, still wearing masks because the psychological conditioning has taken hold of their minds and won. I think you're right. On virtue signaling and don't want to be thought of as conservative as Republican. Also true. Yes. See, I'm still wearing a mask because I'm virtuous. See how good I am? And I feel awkward if I don't. Yes, absolutely. So Torrence says, thank you for taking the time during your stream. This is AMA. You ask me a question, I answer it. I just started this going, but I'm taking every question, even the ones who were like, what's your favorite color? I don't care. Yeah, all of them. Yes, it's fine. Desiree says, it's too hot to wear masks outside, especially for kids in the summer camp. Yes, absolutely. Joe says, wearing a mask has become a partisan issue or statement. It has. Yes. Jericho says, I recently got a postcard in the mail from my assemblyman asking how I felt about the proposal for Medical Aid and Dying Act in New York. Of course, I have a lot to say, being a nurse practitioner who works with dying patients. Wondering if you have any insight or thoughts on this bill or maybe some interest in covering show topic. It's not a bad topic to deal with. It's a tough one, though, right? It isn't as easy as libertarians would say, and I'm sure you're going to get what I'm talking about, Jericho. Do you own your own life? I believe you do. Does that mean you can end your life if you want to? I believe you can. And man, I hope you don't. I don't want you to. If anyone is thinking that now, please don't do that. DM me on my team and we can have a conversation. I don't want you to end your life. But just because I don't want you to end your life and will go out of my way to kind of convince you to not do that, it doesn't mean I have a right to stop you. I don't. You own your life. Now, with that in mind, does that mean that the law should allow someone else to assist you in dying? Right? So I decide I don't want to live anymore and I call up Jericho and say, help me out. Let me have a machine so I can kill myself. Right? Wow. There's a lot of stuff to unpack there. And a libertarian might say, Larry, why do you care? Right? Jericho has agreed. You have agreed. Let the thing happen. The question is, how do I know who's agreed to what? It isn't as easy as that sounds. Generally speaking, it does go effective. It does go well. Usually it does. But we have a couple of cultural issues. One, Americans don't do it, but it's something else. Affirmation. What does that mean? We look at it from right now with the gender issues right now kids are having. And it may seem off, but you'll see where I'm going with it. I'll bring it right back. When a kid comes to a parent or someone and says, hey, mom, I think I'm gay, or hey, mom, I think I'm really a girl, or hey, mom, I think I'm a boy, whatever the case may be. Our society that was teaching them, we should affirm that and go, yes, you are. You are absolutely that. Versus saying, okay, you want lunch? Which is what I do. I have kids. I have kids in my life. They have many times thought they were this or that, and sometimes they were, and sometimes they weren't. I didn't affirm it. I went, okay, because I love you either way, whether you're a guy or a girl, or you're gay or you're straight or whatever. Dad, I think I'm gay. Okay. Did you finish homework? That's it. That's not affirmation. That is just acceptance. You are what you are. Life is good. And when we have the affirmation, which is what we're having now, the second I go to Jericho and I say, I want to end my life. Affirmation rules say, great, Larry, I'm here to support you. How can I help you? That's the wrong answer, right? That's the wrong answer. So that's piece one. We don't want it to become a thing. I'm not saying it will. It's a worry I have. I want to be clear. It's just a worry I have. But there's another piece here. In other countries, it's worked relatively well, but you also want to become an industry. Because sadly, as Jericho, I'm sure you know, suicide is also contagious. So you don't want to become an industry, right? The second you're sad, now it can work. So all those things. So I think it is a tough issue. Without question, you own your own life. So Jericho, you made me think I may do a show on this. Thank you for bringing this issue up. That's why we have AMA. I like it. Yes. All right. Dustin says, I joke around with people that still wear masks and say they'll be wearing them for the rest of their lives. Yeah, I think some people just might. Yes, 100%. The Shadow Warden says, Larry, double masking is rookie numbers. I've seen people wear 4 masks with face shields. Oh my God. Oh my God. Really? That person's more woke than all of us. That's amazing. Blaze says, do you feel like private police force could work in New York City? My worry about a private police force right now in New York City is to make that happen, I would rather a shift more towards the Shamrockers' idea of having more localized police forces. To have a privatized police force of 40,000 cops in New York City seems like a big jump to me. I feel like it's a cultural shift that just would drive people crazy. But if we broke it down in Shamrocker's concept of having a bunch of smaller police forces, you could replace one at a time. Not just that. What if the privatized police force of 40,000 people is a crappy police force? How do you change that? Oh my God. Once you have that contract, you end that contract. But if you've got a bunch of smaller ones, you could rotate them through. So I don't think with the current model, it could work. Could it work with a different model? I think yes. But that's a cultural change and shift into a different model first and then move through. Otherwise, I'm not sure it would work. I hope I answered your question. So the grand jury, what do you think about them? I think a grand jury is a great idea. The problem is they almost always say yes. That's the problem. They always say yes. The concept is a good concept. They just always say yes. That's the problem. They should probably stop saying yes. So Larry Sharpe on Rogan in Rogan 2, 2021. I hope so. I'm at my book come out. I'll see if I can get him to come on and talk to me about my book. It'd be great. I hope so. Yes. Blaze says, I work in construction. I'm shockingly while everyone else in my crew is not. And guess what? No one gives a shit. It's the media and government who are obsessed with race. I don't know if that was for me or not. I'm not sure. But if it was for me, I'm sorry I didn't get it. I'm not sure where you were going with that one. So, all right. Pork rinds for keto still good. Yes, Dustin, they are. 100% they are. But barbecue potato chips, they are good. They're not good for that. Yes, absolutely. So, when can we pre-order the book? July 12th is when it's coming out. I hope you can buy it then. If not, you'll be able to pre-order it. So July 12th, my birthday, is when it's coming out. Hopefully we'll have it by then. We're still working on to fix it. We got about a month left to fix it, to make it the way I want it, or you'll pre-order it then. So yes. So, all right. People do not kill cops. It's very rare. It's true. Cops being killed is very rare. It does happen. It does happen. But in New York City, I'll give you an example. New York City, one of the most violent cities in the country, the largest city in the country, a 40,000 police force in the country. In the last 4 years, the odds of you being killed by another cop were higher than you being killed by a bad guy. I'm not joking. In the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, like 4 cops have been killed, 2 by other cops. So it's something like that. It's very rare. It does happen. Look, I'm not saying cops don't have a tough spot. They do. I'm not saying they don't have a hard spot. They do. However, it's nowhere near as difficult as you would think. And the odds of them being killed are actually relatively slim compared to other jobs, right? It's relatively slim. So yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going here. Brian says, Larry, last night after the grocery stores closed, I had an urge for fruit. So I had to call the open 24/7 C-store for pizza. Sorry, I broke the pizza roll. It's okay. It was still fine. Absolutely, yes. Nooner Clip says, that's to somebody else. It's not to me. Oh, no, yes. Larry, can you explain how bail reform can be achieved without letting repeat violent offenders off the hook? Now, Cuomo made it meaningful so we can bail reform the process. I am so upset with the bail reform bill. And the reason why I am, and the way it's been carried out, is your point is you're right on the money. Bail reform is a good idea. This bail reform bill is not doing the job. And I'm surprised because when I read the bill, it seemed to be a decent bill. If I remember right, and maybe I'm off on this, if I remember right, if a person had skipped bail before, or it was domestic violence, or they had committed a crime before, I mean, they were convicted before, the judge was able to still set bail, no matter what, right? No matter what. The goal of good bail reform, what bail reform should be, it's not in New York State. Let me tell you what it should be. Bail reform should be a way of allowing people who are first-time offenders to not have their life destroyed because they're poor. That's what bail reform should be. It shouldn't be some guy's been convicted of robbing a bank before, so he robs a bank again. You arrest him, you let him back out so he can rob a bank again. That's not what's supposed to happen. That's what our current reform bill is doing. What you're supposed to be is you're a first-time offender. You screwed up, or maybe you didn't screw up. Maybe you just got arrested because you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Instead of doing what Jimmy was talking about and pleading so you don't go to jail for 6 months and go to Rikers Island and get literally gang raped. Instead of doing that, you just say, I'll plead anything. Don't send me to Rikers. Instead, you go, oh, it's your first time? You've never been convicted before? Oh, okay. Go. See you in 6 months. And then we'll see. That's good bail reform. Good bail reform should be that simple. It's your first time. Go home. Oh, you've already robbed a bank before? No, go to jail. I mean, and that's what's actually happening. And there's a part of me, and I haven't done enough homework on this, and you make me realize I probably should do more on this. I'm starting to think that the judges and prosecutors wanted it to fail, and they are just deciding that they're not going to give bail so this bad stuff happens. And I do not have proof of that, to be forward. That's just a feeling, a gut feeling I have, because it just can't be that bad of a bill. I don't remember it being that bad. And I'm a bit worried about this. Thank you for bringing this up. I got to think about this too. Because bail reform is a good idea. This bail reform is not a good idea. It's just not working. So I got to figure this out. Thank you for that. I appreciate you bringing it up. Yes. All right. Terry Alexander. Hi, Terry. How you doing, brother? Have you covered tonight your choice for NYC mayor? I got to tell you, I'm backing still, of course, Stacey Pressman. She's a libertarian candidate. I want her to win. I recognize how difficult that is. So I have a weird reason why I want Yang to win. You know, say, yeah, Larry, you want Yang? Here's why. If Yang wins the primary and Stacey Pressman gets in the debates, then she will debate Yang. And because Yang is a popular person, it will be a national debate. I get a libertarian in a national debate. I know that's terrible. I know you're going, wait a minute, what about New York City? New York City is screwed no matter who is the mayor. Only person who I hope is not the mayor, who's in the top, there's 4 people on the top. Yang, Eric Adams, Maya Wiley, and I've forgotten the woman's first name, Garcia. Her last name is Garcia. She's the one I'm most scared of is Garcia. Because she's like, we're going to make composting mandatory. She's super going to destroy the city in like 5 minutes. I don't think Yang or Eric Adams will destroy the city. Maya might, Garcia will. So I don't want Garcia to be the mayor. That's the one I don't want to win. The rest of them are going to just trash the city as it will be trashed, regardless of what they do. I think Yang's a wild card, though. So maybe the wild card, I guess, Terry. And also for my other completely libertarian, selfish reasons. So I guess I would take Yang because he's the wild card, or Adams because he's the most status quo of them all. So we'll just have status quo decline and decay versus Maya decay or Garcia decay. So either way, I've got decay. So I guess I hope that answers your question. I didn't want to dodge it. I want Stacey Pressman to win. I get the odds are slim, but if she gets in that debate stage, she could hit a home run. You never know. That'd be awesome, but we'll see. So thank you for that question. I appreciate it. So, are you in the city council, Larry? I am not, and would never do so. Not at all. Yes. Barbecue chips can be addictive too. Yes, Michael, you're absolutely correct. Yes. Lionsheart says, well, it's not a matter of an officer, though. Someone who watches an officer return home to their family. So avoid that. They don't have an officer work where they live. Again, I guess it could happen. I never heard of that happening. I'm happy if you have some data to show me. I really am. From what I've seen, that has not been an issue, but maybe it is. If it is, we should bring it up. I never heard of that being a problem. So yeah. All right. Someone clip Larry's quick breakdown of quick and facts. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. So, Michael's favorite color is pink. Nice, Michael. Appreciate that. Yes. Brian says, I can see that revamping to be a very positive change for rural areas such as mine. I call the sheriff now. I'm looking to see them in 3 days. And that's my point there, Brian. Thank you for that. Right. The local or more rural communities have different policing compared to urban. They just do. It's just different. So you want to make sure that I didn't bring that up. Thank you. The point I wanted to bring up when it comes to more rural policing is maybe I don't want to start the facts piece. I want it more an admin versus active duty piece. Maybe you have a family law aspect, maybe maybe family law also is social work. So maybe you have admin, maybe you have active duty, and then kind of a quality of life / social work / family law piece. Because then if you're calling something that's not a hardcore crime, that group goes out, but that group also can have local rep. So literally the local rep could show up if the cop isn't there in time. So maybe the local chaplain shows up as an example, right? And the cop is on their way. If the chaplain can handle it, life is good. It gets hairy, chaplain backs out and says, cop, need you. So that could work in a more local area. So that could work, if that makes any sense. But the piece is, even though in rural communities, the sheriffs usually aren't dealing with as much stuff and deputies as much as city policing, but they still deal with tough stuff. There's still all types of drugs and problems and issues. It still exists in rural and suburban areas. So maybe they don't, stay for only 2 years. Maybe they stay for 5 years, as an example, and then come off and do some admin work. Now, then their civilian component or their community component is admin workers, right? So the cops, the sheriffs, and the deputies aren't doing all the admin work. What does that mean? They can spend more time seeing you, Brian, because they're spending a lot of their time doing admin. But if the local people are doing the local admin and the dispatcher is different, also community-based, so now the communities also know, this is Brian calling. Take your time. Brian's just doing dumb stuff. Or if Brian's calling, it's a big deal. Get there now and bring both guns, right? So the local dispatcher can assist in making that work better. So I think that's how you would fix that issue in a more rural or suburban area. So it's similar, but a little bit off. That's all. So, all right. Paula says, nice work by your daughter. Thank you, Paula. I appreciate that. She is trying very hard to make this right. Yes, absolutely. Then when are you going to have Trekker Z back? I haven't asked. I probably should, right? I probably should. We're talking about foreign policy, and I should do that. Yes. John says, how do we unite and open communication with all these caucuses popping up? Simply to create some infighting and tension. You bring in one person or two people who will unite them. That's it. You want to fix the party? Good candidates. That fixes the party every time. Good candidates will always fix the party. Get a good candidate and everyone gets behind them or her. Life is good. That's it. So Carl says, party infighting is like that check engine light. You check, ignore it. It's possibly nothing. That's funny. I'm kind of with you, Colin, the way I actually am. In a little bit, I kind of am with you there. Yes. So it's kind of funny. Gene says, being underemployed was worse than being unemployed in my experience. Ooh, interesting. I see where you're going, right? It's funny. When I talk to entrepreneurs about setting pricing, I tell them either set a price you're happy with or do it for free. And they said, what? So yes. I said, either just do it for free or set a price you're happy with. I'm like, what do you mean? If you do it for free, it's charity, it's a gift, and you don't feel bad about it. I'm doing it for a gift. I love you, Gene. I'm gonna do the work for you. Just take it. It's all yours. Doing it. Or a price I'm satisfied with. But if I do it for a lower price, now I still got to work. and I'm insulted because it's not my choice to do it. I've got to now because I got paid and I didn't get paid much, so now I'm not happy about it. It makes things worse. And I think you have a valid point. If you're underemployed, you may be angrier sometimes if you're unemployed, because hopefully if you get a good job, I hope you get a good job, obviously. If you get a good job, then you feel more valued. Being underemployed, you begin to feel like you're less valued. That's a valid point, Gene. I could see it. I could see it. Absolutely could. I don't know if everybody would feel that way. I guess the other issue is, are you in a position to where you have someone else in your household that can survive without you being employed, right? Is that where you are? You are in that spot in your life where if you don't work, the world's not going to end. Or are you in a spot where you got to pay bills, right? I think that's another issue. If you got to pay bills, you got to pay bills. But if you're lucky enough to not be in that spot, maybe it might be different. Maybe. So Chad says, I asked about the minimum wage because I see people not working because they believe they're worth $30 an hour. Well, if everyone believes it, then that becomes the minimum wage, right? If everyone says, I'm not doing it, that becomes the minimum wage. And if that's what's going to happen, then our society will begin to shift into that mode, whatever that is. It'll begin to shift. I'm okay with that. Yes. So, Joe says, I follow you on Clubhouse. I believe the event is tonight at 9 p.m. Well, there we go. I guess I get off. I get off soon. I guess so. Yeah, absolutely. So Clubhouse reminds me of how I used to talk to friends when I was a kid before the internet got big. Yes. Yes, chat rooms and such. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Carl says if they're on drugs, the tranquilizer gun could kill them. Oh, see, there we go. That's why I said I didn't know if it works or not. It could, I guess. But yeah, that was my issue. It might, right? You'd have to know that, right? So again, the people working would have to know. And Carl, they would probably know that then, right? They would figure that out and be like, okay, no, bad idea. Don't do that. Yes, absolutely. I love that. So yes. Jeans, did you see the commercial? There's a woman driving an invisible car because transparency is important to her. I didn't. That is amazing. I'm so going to look at that. That's amazing. Sam says, Brian Stelter, CNN, asked Jen Psaki, how can we communicate the White House messaging better? Isn't the job of journalists to be a check on government? How did we end the U.S. version of Yeah, he's like, how do you be better? Yeah, we want to make sure that what you're saying works so that no one else will listen. Yeah, wow. Look, mask off. At least Brian's mask is off. It's good, Sam. You know where he stands, right? That's what I'm saying. When you compare Smirkanish to Sam, Smirkanish is not perfect. I'm sorry, to Brian, not Sam, to Brian. When you compare Smirkanish to Brian, Smirkanish is amazing. So I'm saying, relatively, he's amazing. So yes. So someone says, yes, it did on, oh, okay. There we go. So speaking of Y's and T's, do me a favor, guys, if you can, follow me on YouTube. It does matter. Head over to the Sharpe Way. Follow me on YouTube. It does matter. I want to start breaking more and more numbers there if I can. Follow me on Sharpe Way Twitter. It does matter. Follow me on Sharpe Way Facebook. It does matter. If you don't want the things, don't. But I would like you to do it anyway, so you get my notifications. It'd be great. If you do that, I would appreciate it tremendously if you would do that. Thank you so much. And of course, if you can, like, comment, and share, even after the show's done. Still like it, comment it, and share it. Let people know what we're talking about. It does matter 100%. Guys, I'm going to get off here, and I'm going to see if I'm supposed to be on that Clubhouse or not. I don't know if I'm supposed to be or not. Joe might be lying. We'll see. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for all the time. I'll be on tomorrow on Sharpe Way Instagram Live. Yes, I will. I will see you all tomorrow.